I don't think there's any doubt, and it's certainly my view, that the northern half of Nottinghamshire has by far the best scenery that the county has to offer. There's some cracking places that's well worth a visit, and the Carburton area, part of the Dukeries, is one such place. What you're looking at here is one of two old water meadows used by the Duke of Portland's Welbeck estate. It gathers water. There's a small canal-like stream that runs left along the fence line just in front of the lodge that you can see in the distance there. This is great habitat for one of our larger orb-weaving spiders, and it's a species that I'm after today. But this section of the meadows is inaccessible to the public as far as I'm aware, but across the road in the village of Carburton itself I am allowed access. There's three lakes here at Welbeck. This is the lower lake, often called Carburton Dam. They're very picturesque, and the bottom lake is the best one of the three, to be honest. It's closer to the road. The road runs adjacent to this on the left hand side, but as you go up by the second or the middle and the upper lakes, you're distant from the water's edge and there's no access to Welbeck estate. But it's a beautiful sight. What a view this is. And this is the opposite end of the western of the two water meadows here at Carburton. This is the one I can't access. There are information boards at the side of the road here on each side, giving you information about how these water meadows worked. But for now you'll have to make do with a pleasant view. But we'll nip over the road and see what the other meadow looks like. And this is the eastern of the two water meadows. We're now on the other side of the annoyingly busy road. As you can see, there's this almost canal-like feed of water that goes from the bottom lake at Carburton Dam that we've just been looking at. It goes the top side of the western of the two meadows under the road, and then comes out here, ultimately going into Clumber Park. Clumber Park is over in the distance, and this at various points along this banking that you can see in front, there are pipes that ran into the meadows, and there are almost like little lock gates that stopped the water and allowed the water to collect in parts down towards the bottom. Anyway, if you want to read a bit more about it, I'll get a bit closer to the notice board here. By the looks of this, no one's been here for a long time. In fact, while you have a gawp at this, hopefully you can read it. I'm sure there'll be some information about it on the internet somewhere, but I must admit, I've driven past this point hundreds of times over the past sort of 30 years. I never realised that there was even any access, but access is only into this eastern one. But you have to be a bit careful because they do put sheep in, and it's best not to cause any disturbance really. It looks very unused to me, but of all the times that I have driven past here, never ever did I notice the two signs either side of the road. But this explains a bit about the water meadow. This seems as though it's the middle meadow, so maybe there's another meadow further down towards Clumber then. Either way, it's cracking grassland sight now. And if you still need a bit more time to read it, I suggest you freeze frame now. So while the sun's still shining and it's nice and dry, have a wander down that way. That's where the target species will be. Arrhenius quadratus is one of the 3 big orb weavers that we have in Nottinghamshire. The other 2 being Arrhenius diadomatus, which is the common garden cross spider that you'll get in your garden, and the other one is the more uncommon Arrhenius marmorius, which is an absolute stonker. I'll feature that one in a week or so, because we're now well into spider season. But target species today is Arrhenius quadratus, and that's the kind of habitat that many Arrhenius quadratus like. But it's not just a species of wet meadows, it likes any sort of dry or wet grassland habitat. So we'll see if we can turn one up. Now, tucked away in this little webbed hideaway here is one of our 3 common orb weavers, and in a habitat like this, either dry, grassy or marshy grassy, you will find this super spider. I'll see if we can get a bit closer, because she's an absolute corker. Now, it's just a shame that we can't get that top side view. If we were to come back in the evening time, she would be in the middle of the web and probably spinning a fresh web. It's amazing, these spiders can all be tucked away in these kind of sort of bell-like retreats throughout the day, but then on an evening they all come out into the open and either reconstruct a new web, mend the one that they've already made, or just leave it and wait for something to fly into it. But these are beautiful spiders. A lot of you, if you don't like spiders, won't understand why I'm using the term beautiful, but you have to look at the markings on these large orb weavers. They're terrific. And Arrhenius quadratus, like this one, is probably one of my favourites because they are so variable. Typically on a dry heathy site, if it's in grass, then it's almost a straw or an olive colour background to the abdomen. This one you can see is quite orange, and that's very similar actually to the brown nature of the dead flowers on this Juncus. But it's a beautiful thing. The legs are annulate, as you can see, so they're covered in alternating from cream to dark, but it's the top of the abdomen that really gives these spiders that beautiful appearance. They are beautifully marked, as are all our 3 orb weavers. Arrhenius diadomatus, the common garden cross spider, is beautifully and variably marked, and perhaps the most spectacular of the 3 big orb weavers we have here in Nottinghamshire, Arrhenius marmorius, and that can be an absolute stunner. And I'd love to find another one that had the most distinct and superb, almost like a paisley pattern to it. But that's something for another video at another time. In the meantime, we'll admire this lady. And there you can see why it's got the name quadratus, because there's 4 large, sort of roughly oval shaped spots. It's just a beautiful thing. I know a lot of you will be sat there saying, oh no, how can it be beautiful, it's a spider? But even if you don't like spiders, you have to appreciate and admire these wonderful markings. So we'll leave her alone, and she can go about her business, and a bell-like webbed home is still in place. You can see why I say what I say about this being the best part and the most scenic part of Nottinghamshire. It's absolutely beautiful here, and the sound of this running water makes you want to dive in it. Trouble is, it's only a couple of inches deep. There must be some decent inverts on here, especially down the bottom end where it's generally waterlogged. There must be some quite specialised stuff. This is on quite a slope, all this, and at the top of these meadows, you've got this bank in here which is south facing and still quite dry despite the rain that we've had of recent days. This is a place where I'll have to keep popping into from time to time. It's promising in terms of inverts.